It is becoming abundantly clear that with every dollar that Congress spends, we are digging ourselves into a deeper hole. No secret there, that's for sure. But we're going to dive a little bit more into the biggest problem with this, and that is the interest on the debt, because it's not just money that's sitting there. Well, we owe interest on it. And we're going to be looking at this number right here. This is the alarming number. It's $732 billion. But the debt clock secret revelation we're going to have today will show a different number. And I'm hoping maybe some viewers will help us make sense of it. But first, let's define exactly what this means. Thankfully, the debt clock people have given us definitions. Every time you highlight over one of these numbers, it gives you a definition of what it means. So as you can see above here, that the interest on the debt includes U.S. Treasury notes and bonds, a government account series, GAS, SLGs, and other special purpose securities. So that is the net interest on debt. Well, what is the gross interest on debt? Likely, who knows? If that's usually that's a bigger number, depending on where some of that money goes. Some people say it's about $1 trillion. But when we take a look at all of this, the U.S. total debt, when you include unfunded debt and interest, and maybe some of that is included in the other number, we're paying over $4.3 trillion. And that's including all other interest for unfunded debts. And U.S. total debt, by the way, is getting closer to $100 trillion. It is amazing to see that high of interest that we're seeing occur. Credit card debt, by the way, is sitting at $1.3 trillion in debt for the United States of America. It's crazy. Per card holder, that averages out to about $8,000, but I've seen numbers higher than that before, so it's crazy. Nonetheless, interest on debt is the killer. It's one of the biggest killers. That's one of the reasons why just holding debt is more than just a number on a screen here, because we have to pay interest on it. And who is liable for that interest? It's going to be you and me. But we're going to take a look at this debt clock secret together to help unpack some of this deeper hole that we're looking at here. As we can see here, as we take a step back and zoom out a bit, we can see that this thing here is indeed quite a message that they're giving to us here. And you can see as we approach this thing that it is indeed Uncle Sam that's speaking to us here, giving us a little bit of a lesson and what we should do to help get the interest paid down in the debt. We need you to keep buying bonds to fund our debt money pyramid scheme. Yes, indeed, that's what he was saying. That's what he wants you to do, is to buy the bonds. And of course, there's some good deals on some of these bonds out there, but nonetheless, essentially it is moving that pyramid scheme along to some extent. So think about that. And of course, there are some issues we've seen. Sometimes we're getting your money back out of bonds, but nonetheless, that's a discussion for another day. Let's zoom in a little bit to this side here. We can see we've got the pyramid. So that's pretty much defined there, as we can see, and with the gold being at the top of that pyramid, which is quite interesting, I think, because that pyramid and represents that tip of that pyramid facing upwards, makes you wonder if that gold tip pyramid has to do with what central banks are doing holding gold. And maybe that is the capstone, and to give them some legitimacy, at least in this situation. And of course, we know, and of course, some of you don't believe it, but we have gold at Fort Knox and in New York to the tune of 8,133 tons of gold. But other central banks have been accumulating it at a dramatic pace. Nonetheless, we have that, and we have an old advertisement. Back your future. Not back to the future, but back your future with U.S. savings bonds. There it is. And pay interest, you cash out and do very well with them, depending on when and how you buy them. But nonetheless, if it's in a system that is doomed to essentially be reset, collapse, who knows, what those bonds will be, how secure they will be down the road. They say that the savings bonds or U.S. Treasuries are the safest form out there. Well, makes you wonder, what kind of foundation is the United States sitting on now? Uncle Sam is right there, bold in red, white, and blue, with his finger pointing at the chart, because he needs us to help, to be patriotic, to pay down this debt, to fund the debt-based pyramid scheme. But what foundation is he standing on? You can see it is a circular newsprint from has Woodrow Wilson on it, presumably from the time when the Federal Reserve Act was announced to the public. As a Federal Reserve System there, yes indeed. Now we look over at this chart, we can see that it is undeniable, and both sides agree. You know, the side that has the third eye, the pineal gland that can see through it all, and of course the government can't deny what is indeed true, and that is this massive amount of interest that we're paying on the debt. The federal interest paid, the United States of America. Look where it is now, $659 billion right now. But that is a different number than the $732 billion we saw below or earlier. Does that mean this is including, was this cartoon created before it got up that high? If so, that'd be quite some time ago when it was created. But even if you take that into account, I don't know why the numbers are so different. Regardless, it's 732 times where it was back in 1940 when it was at $900 million. Of course, $900 million back then compared to $659 billion now. Well, you can take that into account, but 732 times greater. Inflation hasn't increased that much over the last time. But nonetheless, if we look at this, it's just amazing to see. And it could be dealt with. It could go back down the other way if they really wanted to. But no, it's skyrocketing, which means this would lead us to the idea that we're going across the cliff. But nonetheless, I don't know. They don't seem to care. So there's two possible solutions here. We're going to talk about what maybe the debt clock people are trying to tell us with this. By the way, you can see here, as we look at the symbolism behind some of the graphics of this, I always find it intriguing. There's a bunch of X's here. We've seen these X's before. In fact, this cartoon is even signed by Thomas X. And people have general ideas of what that could mean. I don't know, but nonetheless, federal interest paid, it does say here net, so it is the same measurement. So why is this number that much lower? Why does it say 732 times here? You know, it makes me wonder if maybe they made an error in this. And why do I think that's possibly the case? Maybe it's 659 times, and it should be 732 billion. Let me tell you why. Got to close that out for a minute. Look at here. Interest on the debt net, $732.7 trillion. Now let's go back over here and open this up again. And we can see it's 659. There's the number 732. So I think it's 659 times, and they got those numbers flipped. I think that's what happened there. Nonetheless, we can see that rightfully so, the debt clock people were right about the origins of government spending. It happens in the Capitol building. There's a rotunda behind it there, we can see in this graph. We can see these numbers continue to climb, and it's crazy. Interesting indeed. Nonetheless, that is the hard facts, the reality that we see today. Now, we've seen this character before. He's wearing the mask. Maybe it's the mask of anonymity, as someone had pointed out in one of my viewers. And I think rightfully so, this is the third eye, the pineal gland of enlightenment here. And we can see what's on his mind. On his mind is indeed debt-free currency. Pretty remarkable. We see it's a little bit different this time. We can see as we zoom into this now, it's a little bit different. We are now looking at John F. Kennedy on the note here. John F. Kennedy and it says 100 here. We can see debt-free currency as a sample here, payable to the bearer on demand. And John F. Kennedy, some people feel that he was killed over his monetary policy differences than what the Federal Reserve had. So there is that. Now you'll notice here too, with Lincoln, with Kennedy, maybe trying to reform the Federal Reserve and monetary systems, and that's what needs to happen again, as we can see that we have a silver Kennedy $50 here. No longer behind the fold is a silver coin. Indeed, no. It is right in front of it now, where silver could be a part of this, as well as that reformation that Kennedy had imposed here. We can see that on the one side of Kennedy, in this portrait, we can see that it is bright, illuminated here. On this other side, it is dark. And what does that represent? Maybe the death of Kennedy there. Very interesting. So nonetheless, fascinating indeed. And now as we come and take a look back and interpret the last part of this, we can see that he's got his shirt, and this time it has the EXO right on his shirt. And, you know, some have likened that to maybe meaning from the outside or the exterior, and that very well would make a sense. It's outside of the current system that we find ourselves in. But you know, I don't know if the debt clock people understand this or not, but states are moving to go outside of the current system, outside of the Federal Reserve System, with a lot of the sound money policies that I've covered on my channel. I hope you guys will check out some of those videos that I've done, even the one that I've done most recently. Nonetheless, he's holding something here that we've not seen before. A very interesting thing, well, actually he's not holding it, is in front of his hand, and it has a light behind it, almost kind of translucent with that light behind it. And there's a green aspect of it with a curve at the top, and then a red section down below. I have really no idea what this could mean. Red means go, red means stop, green means go, and there's a light there. So is it some sort of tablet or something talking about moving from, stopping from where we are and moving forward to the future? I don't know. We shall see. Nonetheless, he is standing indeed on a platform of a strong United States of America, with all of these stars highlighting presumably American cities, with a yellow glow behind it, and the heavens behind that. It's very interesting indeed. So there you have it. Pretty remarkable, an amazing cartoon here. Let me know what your thoughts are about it in the comment section down below. I have a whole playlist of these. I've been covering every single one of the debt clock messages that have come out. And so let me know what your thoughts are. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.